Good morning, friends. I am Mr. Prashant Mahajan. So today we are going to discuss second type of corrosion, that is wet corrosion or electrochemical corrosion. It is also called as indirect or immersion corrosion. So what is wet corrosion? So wet corrosion, the word itself indicates that is moist condition or wet conditions are there. What is electrochemical corrosion? That means electrolyte is present, anode is present, cathode is present. So see, the corrosion occurring under waste or moist condition through electrochemical reactions. That is through formation of short circuited galvanic cell is known as wet or electrochemical corrosion. It can occur within same or when two dissimilar metals are in contact with each other. So depending upon that, there are two types of wet corrosion. That is galvanic cell corrosion. That means when two dissimilar metals are in contact with the electrolyte, or single metals with different surfaces like bent pipe. That means stress or unstressed part. That is also called as galvanic cell corrosion. In the case of concentration cell corrosion, that is single metal is present but it is subjected to the two different concentrations, that is one is highly concentrated and second is poorly concentrated. So let us see first, that is galvanic cell corrosion. So you can see the example, two dissimilar metals are in contact, that is first example. Second is stress and unstressed part of the same metal, and third is impurities in the metal. So you can see first, that is generally nuts and bolts are used for the joining pipes. So that is two dissimilar metals and the liquid is flowing through the pipes. So that is uh, electrolytes, or generally by welding we are joining two dissimilar metals. So that is the example of galvanic cell corrosion. Second, stress and unstressed parts. So you can see that bent pipe is there. So two portions are formed. That is, one is stress, that is at the bent portion, that is stress part, that will be acting as anode, and second is unstressed part or plain part, that will be acting as cathode. So always remember, the part which is acting as anode will be acting as corrosion part, and oxidation takes place at anode, and the plain part will be acting as cathode. So reduction occurs at cathode, but there should be electrolyte. Next, impurities present on the metal. So again, that impurities and the base metal, and if it is coming in the contact of electrolyte, then there is formation of galvanic cell. Again, it is depend on the galvanic series which will act as anode, which will act as cathode. Next is, sorry, so this is galvanic series. So you can see galvanic series, the metal which is placed at the top of the series will be acting as anodic metal, and the metal which are present at the bottom of the series will be acting as cathodic metal. So anodic metal will be corroded and cathodic metal will be protected. For example, zinc and steel. So you can see in the galvanic series, zinc is at the top of the series, steel is below the zinc. So zinc will be acting as anode and steel will be acting as cathode. So in this case, the metal, first and third case, the metal which is placed at the higher position in the galvanic series will be acting as anode, and the metal which is placed at the bottom of the series will be acting as cathode. That is called as galvanic cell corrosion. Next is concentration cell corrosion. So, so what is concentration cell corrosion? So single metal is exposed to the different concentrations. So that is called as concentration cell corrosion. So in all of the following cell, less oxygenated part will be acting as anode and get corroded, while more oxygenated part will be acting as cathode and get protected. So first example is partial immersion of the metal. So example is, as I have earlier told, that the water tank is partially filled. That means the part which is below water line level, that will be acting as anode, and the part which is above water, that will be acting as cathode. Second example is given there, that is sheep hull. So it is partially dipped in the sea water, that is the part which is below sea water will be acting as anode, that is poorly oxygenated, and the part which is above the sea level, that will be acting as cathode and gets protected. Next is partial buried in the ground. So generally the electricity poles are there, that is the part which is below the soil surface or earth, that will be acting as anode, that is poorly oxygenated, and the part which is above the soil surface will be acting as cathode, that is more oxygenated. So generally the part which is below the soil surface will get corroded. Next is crevice, that is crevice means cracks are present, and if water droplets are coming there, so the part which is below the water droplet will be acting as anode, and the part outside the water droplet will be acting as cathode. Next is oxide film formed on the metal surface partially ruptured. It is the same, the part which is below the water, that will be acting as less oxygenated part or poorly oxygenated part, and that will be acting as anode, and the part which is outside the water droplet will be acting as cathode, that is more oxygenated part. Next is first mechanism of the wet corrosion, that is mechanism of hydrogen evolution. That means hydrogen is liberated. So for the liberation of hydrogen, that acidic environment is required. So you can see it occurs in acidic environment. So consider there is a steel tank containing acidic industrial waste, and small scrap of copper is present in the acid electrolyte. So it forms electrochemical cell. Means iron or steel will be acting as anode, copper will be acting as cathode, and acidic environment will be acting as electrolyte. So you can see here, this is the steel tank and there is a copper scrap present, and acidic waste is present in the steel tank. So this steel will be acting as anode. So that means oxidation occurs at anode. So Fe will give you Fe2 plus and 2 electrons. So that 2 electrons will go to the copper. So copper has H plus or acidic hydrogen. So that will take 2 electrons. So H plus combines with 2 electrons will give you H2. So H2 is liberated or evolved. So that's why it is called as hydrogen evolution mechanism. So net reaction Fe plus 2H plus giving Fe2 plus H2. So this is one example of galvanic cell. So in the second case, you can see that is the nut or the screw is fitted at the bottom. So steel tank is there, and the nut or screw is of the different metal. So that is also the example of hydrogen evolution mechanism. And second mechanism is oxygen absorption mechanism. Generally this mechanism is taking place in neutral or basic medium in the presence of oxygen. So it occurs of iron, sorry, the oxides of the iron covers the surface of the iron. The small scratch creates a small anodic area and the rust acting as the cathodic area. So you can see, so this is the metal, and the oxide layer is formed on the metal. There is a small scratch on the oxide in the oxide, and there is formation of small anodic area. And if water droplet is coming, then there is formation of electrochemical cell. So see what is happening. So first of all, steel will be acting as anode. So the reaction will be the same, Fe giving Fe2 plus 2 electrons, and metal oxide will be acting as cathode. So water droplet is present there. So you can see water is there. Then oxygen is present in the water, and the 2 electrons are coming from anode. So the reaction takes place like this: half O2 plus H2O plus 2 electrons giving twice OH minus, and the net reaction is Fe plus half O2 plus H2O giving Fe2 plus 2 OH minus. They are going to combine to form ferrous hydroxide, and if oxygen is present in the sufficient quantity, it will form rust. So this is the example of the oxygen absorption mechanism. So remember, hydrogen evolution mechanism takes place in the acidic environment, while oxygen absorption mechanism is taking place in the neutral or basic environment, but in the presence of oxygen. Next, there are few types of corrosion. That is, first is uniform, then pitting, transgranular, intergranular, exfoliation, stress corrosion, crevice, galvanic, soil corrosion, waterline corrosion, erosion corrosion. So first example is uniform corrosion. That is, you can see the steel tank or the steel container is uniformly corroded all over the surface. It is corrosion is happening. Then second is pitting corrosion. So there are pits are formed on the metal surface. That is pitting corrosion. And third is transgranular and intergranular. So transgranular means the corrosion takes place through the granules, and intergranular means the corrosion occurs in through the spaces present in the granules. So that is through the granules, that is transgranular, and between the granules, that is intergranular. Then exfoliation means there is layers of the metals are going to remove, that is exfoliation. Next is stress corrosion, that is stress part and unstressed part corrosion. That is stress part will be acting as anode and unstressed part will be acting as cathode. So stress part will get corroded. Next is crevice corrosion. So there is cracks present in the two metals, and if there is water droplet, there will be corrosion happening due to that cracks present, and the metal which is anodic in the nature, that will get corroded. Next is galvanic corrosion, that you can see two different metals are in contact, and electrolyte, if electrolyte is present, then there will be galvanic corrosion. The metal which is highly placed in the galvanic series will be acting as anode, and the metal which is uh, placed at the bottom of the galvanic series will be acting as cathode. Then next is soil corrosion. We have earlier discussed this part, that is the metal or the electricity pole is buried partially in the soil. So the part which is at the below part in the soil will be acting as anode. So less oxygen is present in the soil, and the part which is in the open atmosphere will be acting as cathode, as more oxygen is present in the open atmosphere. Next is waterline corrosion. So the part which is below the water will be acting as anode, that is poorly oxygenated. The part which is above the waterline level, that is acting as cathode, that is more oxygenated, that will be cathodic part. So remember, the less oxygenated part is acting as anode, and the corrosion of the poorly or less oxygenated part is taking place. And last, erosion corrosion, that means the liquid flowing to the pipeline. So there is erosion between the liquid and the pipe, so that is called as erosion corrosion. So these are the 10 types of the metal corrosion. So see again, that is uniform means all over the metal surface. Pitting means there are pits. Transgranular means it is through the granules. Intergranular means it means between the granules. Then next is exfoliation, means there is pills are going to be there. Stress corrosion means stress and unstressed part, that is the part of galvanic corrosion. Then crevice means there are cracks present between the two metals. Galvanic corrosion means there are two different metals. Soil corrosion means that is a part of concentration corrosion, concentration cell corrosion, that is the poorly oxygenated part and more oxygenated part. Same for waterline corrosion. And last is erosion corrosion, that is the liquid flowing to the metal, that is the part of the erosion corrosion. Thank you.